Hey everyone, this is Jeremy from MainTakeAway, and today we're going to be talking about The Lean Startup by Reis. Here's a quick look at the cover. It states how today's entrepreneurs use continuous innovation to create radically successful businesses. It's definitely for entrepreneurs if you're thinking about starting a startup or are already in a startup. This book is for you. It goes beyond the hard work and perseverance mantras and gives you a step-by-step process to be successful as a startup. So engineering for success. Startup success can be engineered by following the right process, which means it can be learned, which means it can be taught. Startups exist to learn how to build a sustainable business. This learning can be validated scientifically by running frequent experiments. He calls this validated learning. The fundamentals of a startup. The fundamental activity of a startup is to turn ideas into products, measure how customers respond, and then learn whether to pivot or persevere. All successful startup processes should be geared to accelerate that feedback loop. Focus on boring stuff, how to measure progress, how to set up milestones, and how to prioritize work. Planning versus thinking to just do it. Planning and forecasting are only accurate when based on long, stable operating history and relative static environment. Startups have neither. Many entrepreneurs take a just-do-it attitude, avoiding all forms of management, process, and discipline. But unfortunately, this approach leads to more chaos, often than success. Instead of just do it, entrepreneurship requires a managerial discipline to harness the entrepreneurial opportunity. He discusses running validated experiments and also being able to take the leap of faith with what you expect from these experiments. The goal for a startup is to figure out the right thing to build, the thing customers want and will pay for as quickly as possible. The Lean Startup is a new way of looking at the development of new innovative products that emphasizes fast iteration and customer insight, because the customer is always right. Reis is not a big fan of the typical business plan. He says they look more like they are planning to launch a rocket ship than drive a car. They prescribe the steps to take and the results to expect in excruciating detail. And as in planning to launch a rocket, they are set up in such a way that even tiny errors and assumptions can lead to catastrophic outcomes. Instead of a business plan, make constant adjustments with a steering wheel called the build, measure, learn feedback loop. Through this process of steering, we can learn when and if it's time to make a sharp turn called a pivot, or whether we should persevere along our current path. Innovation is at the heart of startup success. The future is unpredictable. Customers face a growing array of alternatives, and the pace of change is ever increasing. Yet most startups still are managed by using standard forecasts, product milestones, and detailed business plans. Innovation is bottoms up, decentralized and unpredictable, but it does not mean it cannot be managed. Innovation requires new management discipline, one that needs to be mastered, not just by practicing entrepreneurs seeking to build the next big thing, but also by the people who support them, nurture them, and hold them accountable. It is the responsibility of senior management. Lean thinking defines value as providing benefit to the customer. Anything else is waste. But in a startup, who the customer is and what the customer might find valuable are unknown. Learning is the essential unit of progress for startups. Validated learning is backed by empirical data collected from real customers. See, every startup as an experiment. The question is not, can this product be built? Because anything in this modern era can be built. More pertinent questions are, should this product be built? Can we build a sustainable business around this set of products or services? Systematically break down a business plan into component parts and test each part empirically. Lesson from the scientific method. If you cannot fail, you cannot learn. Begin with a clear hypothesis, then test predictions empirically. Startup experimentation is guided by the startup's vision. So this all comes together. Startup vision is what gives you the hypothesis that you predict. And with these hypotheses, you need a baseline metric that you can measure these hypotheses, and then you need to test them empirically. Break it down. Break down the grand vision into parts. There are two hypotheses, value and the growth. A value hypothesis tests whether a product or service really delivers value to customers once they are using it. Growth hypothesis tests how new consumers will discover a product or service. Before developing a product, Eric pushes his teams to answer, do consumers recognize that they have the problem you're trying to solve? If there was a solution, would they buy it? Would they buy it from us? How do we differentiate ourselves? And 4, can we build a solution for that problem? The common tendency is to skip straight to the 4th question before confirming that Eric talks a lot about in the book about building an MVP. Once with your hypotheses, aka the leap of faith assumptions, the first step is to enter the building phase as quickly as possible with a minimum viable product. The MVP is that version of the product that enables a full turn of the build, measure loop with minimum effort and least amount of development time. Measuring your MVP. The MVP requires extra effort. We must be able to measure its impact. In the measure phase, the biggest challenge will be determining whether the product development efforts are leading to real progress. More MVP advice. Remove any feature, process, or effort that does not contribute directly to the learning you seek. A common objection: the fear of competitors stealing a startup's idea, which he states is not necessarily true. The challenge lies in prioritization and execution. He tells you in the book to go to a successful business already, a large firm, and go to their director and try and force this idea upon him. This manager gets good ideas every day. So it's very unlikely that people are going to steal your idea, and it lies within your execution of that idea. If we've discovered one of our hypotheses is false, it is time to make a major change to a new strategic hypothesis. What differentiates the success stories from the failures is that successful entrepreneurs had the foresight, ability, and tools to discover which parts of their plan were working brilliantly and which were misguided, and adapt their strategies accordingly. Genchi Genbutsu. I don't know if I said that right. One of the most important phrases in lean manufacturing vocabulary. In English, it is translated as a directive to go and see yourself, so that business decisions can be based on deep, first-hand knowledge. Innovation accounting. Use a MVP to establish real data on where the company is right now. Startups must attempt to tune the engine from the baseline toward the ideal. After the startup has made all the micro changes and product optimizations, it can move its baseline toward the ideal. The company reaches a decision point. And 3, the decision point is to pivot or persevere. Customer flows. The sequences of customer behaviors. Customer flow governs the interaction of customers with your products. They allow us to understand a business quantitatively and have much more predictive power than do traditional growth metrics. The 3 A's of metrics. Actionable. Must demonstrate clear cause and effect, and you should try and make this as simple as possible. 2 is accessible. Can you get it out to your consumer easily? And 3, auditable. Are you able to measure it? Cohort learning. Cohort-based reports are the gold standard of learning metrics. Each analysis says, among the people who used our product in this period, here's how many of them exhibited each of the behaviors we care about. Gain insights into why customers are behaving the way the data indicates. A startup's runway is the number of pivots it can still make. A pivot requires that we keep one foot rooted in what we've learned so far while making a fundamental change in strategy in order to seek even greater validated learning. Which activities create value and which are a form of waste. Once you understand this distinction, you can begin to use lean techniques to drive out waste and increase the efficiency of value-creating activities. Customers often don't know what they want. Our goal in building products is to be able to run experiments that will help us learn how to build a sustainable business. Thus, the right way to think about the product development process in a lean startup is that it is responding to pull requests in the form of experiments that need to be run. The 3 engines of growth in your startup. 1. Stick engine of growth, focusing on customer retention. 2. Viral engine of growth. A viral coefficient above 1 is best. Take an example for the viral coefficient. Say your viral coefficient is 2. So each time you attract 1 person, they attract 2 more people. And those 2 more people attract 2 more people, etc., etc. This is done through word of mouth or if the product advertises itself. And 3, which most people use, is paid engine of growth. Every form of advertising and any cost to acquire customers. He talks about the 5 whys, how they're very important in deriving the root cause of problems. Use the 5 whys to make incremental investments and evolve a startup's processes gradually. The core idea of 5 whys is to tie investments directly to the prevention of the most problematic symptoms. The system takes its name from the investigative method of asking the question why 5 times to understand what has happened, the root cause. The Lean Startup on Amazon. It's been given a 4.3 out of 5 stars by 229 people. Click on the Amazon link below to get it. New, it's about $17, and used, it's about $9. The Lean Startup is a great book to reference to if you're in a startup or starting a startup. Tell us what you learned about this video. Share a comment below with something you liked or disliked about the video or book. Click the like button below. Or share this with somebody who would benefit from the knowledge you just learned. Or tweet at us. Share with us what you learned in 160 words or less.